Ayo, it's Mayo. So if you notice I'm a little different, my cameraman's missing. Got other stuff to do. Alright, so in this new subdued mood, depressed people can get piercings and take care of them and everything's great. Autistic people can get piercings, take care of them, everything's great. And even bipolar people, like me, could. I couldn't. Now, when I tell you the horror story of how I got my ears pierced and regretted it almost instantly, you'd expect that it would be my fault, that I would let my ears get crusty and horrible things would happen. But no. I have a pretty typical and standard story as to why my ears are nice and unpierced. Meh. Alright, so it all started in the early 2000s. I'd say third grade probably. And I was very autistic and very desperate to fit in. All the other girls were getting their ears pierced. So I wanted my ears pierced to fit in with them. To be like, oh, hey, we got something in common. Well, as I said, it was the early 2000s. We didn't know any better. Where do little girls go to get their ears pierced? Claire's. Which is funny because for some reason they always put the chair right next to the door in the closest proximity to other human beings walking by. Now, even if we did know better at the time, my mom was super dope. She would have taken me to a tattoo parlor if she knew that going to Claire's to get your ears pierced was a really dumb idea. But back in the, I'm gonna be kind and say 80s, when she got her ears first pierced, she went to Claire's too if Claire's existed in the time period in which that happened. But I'm pretty sure it did. My mom was cool. If she knew it was wrong, she would have found a better way. It was a Church of Christ school, and of all the denominations of Christians, they are kind of the waspiest. And if you don't know what that means, it means that they think they're better than everyone else. Not all Church of Christ Christians are like that, but boy howdy. You know the kind of people who will come up to you and say, join my church, your church isn't good enough, mine's more Jesus-y. That kind. So if those mothers were told, hey, don't go to the cute pink and purple place for children, go to a tattoo parlor, they probably would have said, oh no, I will never let my children associate with criminals. Are people with tattoos criminals? Probably usually not. I mean, I think you can say usually not. Tattoos are very popular now. Were things different in the 2000s? Those parents would still be like that. Even if they were born when I was born. That's just the kind of culture you're in. Tattoos are a no-go. So, that's the excuse. My mom was cool. She would have taken me to a tattoo parlor if she knew that was an option and that piercing guns are evil. So the process of getting my ears pierced was, the mildly traumatic kind, where it's like, you wouldn't call it trauma, but you still remember it really well after a decade? No. Oh my gosh, it's 2022. 2 freaking decades. I'm old. I am ancient. So, I love silver. I've always loved silver. Like, it's my thing. I don't like gold. Well, my grandmother was taught And then she taught my mother that you get to choose once. When you get your ears pierced, you choose between gold or silver and you never get to switch. They put gold in. But not just they put gold in. For some reason, I hate my birthstone. I don't like it. But they also picked out my birthstone, and it was these big giant studs. Like, I don't think you're supposed to put big giant rocky studs in freshly pierced ears in children, but they did. So I was bummed out. Like, I don't like gold. I don't want to wear gold for the rest of my life. I like silver. So looking back, I kind of remember like glimpses and not the whole deal, but I think they had a little hard of a time lining it up, and they were probably crooked. Like, it was Claire's. The lady piercing them was probably younger than I am now. But yeah, I was a kid. Everyone looks like an adult when you're a kid. So, and then of course, I was a little whiny baby, got one done, and I'm like, no, pain. But they're like, oh, you came this far, you gotta go through with it. So I went through with it. Pain. I don't know my pain tolerance. I'm sure it's gotten better because of events. So I was in pain from those piercings. And then I went home. And my mom was taking care of the piercings, cleaning them up because I was 8? Somewhere between 7 and 9 probably. Like I said, 2 decades ago. So my piercings were nice and taken care of. And I couldn't lay on my side because seriously, why would you put studs in that were that big? Of course, 8 years old, and what happened next made me remember them probably as way bigger than they were, but they were big. So I obviously couldn't lay on my side, and I am a side sleeper, so I slept on the couch, and I woke up. There were no piercings, but not in the way you think, or more so, there were piercings but no earrings, but there was a giant mass on both ears. Keloids, I don't think would form that fast, and they weren't keloids. As you can see, I didn't need any surgeries or anything to fix them back up. So, in one night, my ears had completely engulfed those giant studs. So, it was usually hard to get an appointment with my pediatrician, but it was sufficiently too much of an emergency for them to just wait around and kick me about, but not enough of emergency for like emergency room. In 2003, I don't remember urgent care like being a thing. So they got me in, and I just remember crying in pain in the parking lot. But I did get to skip school. So I went in, and oh my goodness. You know how I said there's the mild traumas that you just remember flashes of, where it's not trauma, it's just something that you remember vividly after 2 decades. And then there's the kind of slightly more mild trauma where you block most of it out. And that is one of those. So I just remember, going in there and the doctor just like removing the studs. And here is the kicker to the entire story. Each stud had a hair wrapped around it. Like, one would be one thing, but both? And don't get me wrong, this is short hair compared to what I usually had. Ironically, this is what I consider extremely long hair, and I need a haircut. But I always had long hair as a kid. And I can understand how my hair could get wrapped around the stud. But there's two possibilities here. The first is my hair got wrapped around the stud inside the gun, which would be boo, Claire's bad. Or it could have gotten wrapped around after I got the piercing. Just for the sake of storytelling, it was Claire's fault. So, the moral of this is I'm never getting another piercing. I don't want to. I think they're cool. But not for me. So, if you take any lessons from this video, let it be this. Piercing guns are bad. It might be hard to find a tattoo or piercing parlor that will let your kids in. There's plenty of resources online because you do need to go to a professional, even if it's just earrings. And if you want to do anything more than earrings or do like cartilage stuff, then you definitely need to go to a professional. And it seems like a lot of just one Google, like, can you take children to get their ears pierced at a piercing parlor? A lot of, just Googling it, a lot of places will allow kids in to get their ears pierced. But I have seen cases of tattoo parlors strictly being 18 plus. It might take some looking around. And this is a joke, do not do this. But I think it would be safer to just go on Craigslist and be like, hey, if you let me watch you sanitize your needles, I'll pay you to come to my house and pierce my kids' ears. Bad idea. But if you have a friend who knows how to pierce and won't use a gun, good enough? Who knows? Anyway, this is probably a pretty short video. I didn't have my hype man hyping me up like, bah, bah, you're funny. Keep telling jokes. But you know, I don't know what side of me YouTube would like the most. I'm just starting to make face cam videos. So, if you like this more subdued side of me, I can do that. I just woke up. I just have to make videos only when I've just woke up. That would work. Alrighty. I love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends to watch. Bye!